demonstrate my homemade battery-powered bass amp. Now the idea behind these amplifiers I've been making is to throw something together with parts I had laying around the house, stuff that I may have pulled out of dumpsters or picked up at a garage sale or secondhand store. The idea behind the battery-powered bass amp, I mean, obviously you could run it off of D batteries or something like that. More than likely with this, when I run it outside, I'm going to use a transformer connected to a deep cell battery to drop that hard 12 volts, you know, with all the amperage behind it down to like 1 amp, 12 volts. So it should run for a pretty good long time. So this thing may look pretty ugly, but it actually sounds pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to jump inside of it. I can give you a little tour of what's going on inside this sucker. Now, this whole project started when our old neighbors, the Fatties, moved out. And the dumpster was overflowing that day, believe me. But I got like an end table and then a coffee table thing, and the end table, actually it was like a little, it's hard to describe, like you put a lamp on it and it had drawers, it was made out of particle board, it was like a real solid thing. That's kind of like the chassis for this, and then the lid is it's the top of the coffee table, and then there's a different front panel on it that I cut, actually 2 panels that I cut out. Now I guess you'd never guess, it is a pizza pan for the speaker grill, and I really love that. It's kind of like real burnt up and greasy and cheese on there and stuff, but it adds to the sizzle of the high end on the amp in the long run. And the Fatties threw out the shower curtain. It had their blue gems on it, and it doesn't light up, but I had to use it there. Then I think I got that Targus. That's Emerson, Lake and Palmer triple concept album. Is that it? Oh, with the big giant. Yeah. Well, I got that off of it was like a piece of luggage, or it had a notebook in it. That came out of the dumpster from Second Chance, the secondhand store. It's by our house. I go in the dumpster there and got all kinds of goodies, a lot of electronics, because it's more like a ladies' place. They have, like, you know, maybe a toaster or a blender in there, but all the other electronics goes in the dumpster to make room for the dresses and all the jewelry they sell there. So I got that Targus out of there. And it's, yeah, it used to be manufactured by Roland, that Targus. And then the speaker grill cloth, that came like right around that same time we were coming back from the store, and somebody threw out a Sears Silvertone organ, and that's the speaker cloth from there. And then I used the speaker from that organ too. Now you can look at the side panel of that amplifier. It's a little guitar amp, and it had a DC input. It didn't have a transformer, so you used a wall wart with it, like a 12 volt 1 amp, and so it's really easy to run it off of batteries when it's set up like that. But that amp's been in and out of a couple of different cabinets with different mods that I made to it. I'm real happy with the amp. You can see the handle there, that came off of the Fatties dresser. They threw out a dresser that day too. And here we go, yeah, close up of that. And then, you know, this here, that's power, bass, mid-range, treble, master, volume, overdrive switch, low and high input, and then the HP's the headphones. And we got on the back, I got a little DC jack on the input. Those hinges came off of something from the Fatties. I didn't buy those hinges. Who's in here? No one. Who's in here? A little guy. And then, yeah, the other hinge got broke because it's a pretty heavy unit. I always sign my work, and then you can, those strings that are on there to hold the lid up, you can actually play the one on the left. It's taut enough. Makes a nice little noise when you play it. There's a close-up of that amp. It's hacked up a little bit, but it still works pretty good. And then that crossover, I got that from my brother Bjorn. It came out of some kind of speaker cabinet that he gave me. It was missing the woofer. And it already, the guy did, oh, you know what? I think I labeled that. Yeah, it almost looks like it's medical tape. I think something was written on there in pencil, and it just kind of faded off in time. And then these computer speakers, I use those for like mid-range or tweeters. They're pretty heavy-duty little speakers. And I put those up there on the top just to give it a little bit of high-end. And then you see the Fatties, they threw out an air freshener too. It was like a plug-in thing, and it had 3 LEDs. It was color changey thing. So I put that in there for the psychedelic light show. And then there's a close-up of that. It's a real kind of a shitty for a bass speaker. It's that Silvertone organ. I think it's a 10 or is it a 12? Yeah, it must be a 12. It's for a pizza. Yeah, it's 12 inches, right? So yeah, when I run into a good 12, I'm definitely going to put that in there because that's the one flaw with the amp, is when you crank everything up, the speakers can't handle it. And it gives that real kind of cheesy, you know, bass distortion. There's the lid from the coffee table that ended up being the lid for the fatty amp, the bass amp. And here's a shot of the, that's the circuit bent speaking spout that I use in the video. That's a real fun project. It's a lot of wiring. Hats off to Reed Gazala, or however you say his name. He's an original circuit bender guy. He's got some great stories. He got kicked out of a church for playing some kind of noise box in there. It's excellent guy. Looks like a he's a real character. Looks like something out of Space 1999. If you put a robe on him and some silver eyeshadow. But yeah, that circuit bent speaking mat, that's a real fun project. If you can get a hold of one of those and you've got a bunch of wire. And I mean, it looks like shit, the job I did in there. It was a hassle. It actually took me a couple of days to do that. And I don't know what was going on there. But it still works, so.